Hello everyone, MB here, and welcome back to a new video. And in this one, we're going to be looking at the full set review for Abyssai, which is going to release in Japan this time next Friday, which is really cool. It's also going to release in English in July for the Pitch Black set, so we're not going to have to wait a little bit longer to see these cards in English, but still, some very fun card reveals. And honestly, from what we've seen before, like leading up to this release, like the stuff with like Chandelier, the Ghost Veil deck, the Waylord, which I posted about recently on the community post. Like, I honestly think this set could be really fun. There seems to be a lot of very playable, fun, interesting cards. So, already kind of looking forward to this set a bit more than Chaos Rising, I can't lie. But still, some fun cards overall. So yeah, first of all, we have a new Trapias. Really nothing crazy here. Maybe like a cube piece or something for GLC, but not really good enough for standard, I don't think. We do see a new Grubbin, which is going to go along nicely with the Vikavolt later on. But, obviously Vikavolt being lightning type means Grubbin's kind of left on his own out here. But yeah, then we get to a new Lurantis card, a Lurantis EX. So 260 HP, showing how far the power creep has come since Lurantis GX had 210 HP. But this guy has 2 attacks. Lively Cutter for 1 grass does 60. And if his Pokemon heal during this turn, this attack does 200 more damage. So 260, wow, for a single grass energy. I mean, that's pretty efficient. Like, sure, Lurantis has to always tank a hit. Like, your opponent can't just be using Lucario one-shots on you all the time. But if you're able to survive, and we do, I'm pretty sure, have, like, decent ways of healing through trainer cards in Standard, then 260 is pretty solid, right? Then, like, if you throw in a maximum belt, you're still kind of shy of big numbers because you're only doing 310, which is a bit meddling. It's painfully short of things like Dragapult and other Megas and stuff, but still, 260 on a 2-prize Pokemon for a single energy, I think is pretty efficient. So that's cool to see. You could also do some healing with a Jumbo Ice Cream, I guess, although you'd have to have an additional 2 energy, which kind of defeats the purpose of Lurantis being efficient, but still a very, very solid attack, and I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being pretty good. So, nice to see Lurantis getting another playable card. Then we have the new stuff that was kind of revealed fairly recently, so I'm assuming you guys have already seen this stuff. But yeah, we will go over it again in case anyone's not familiar. But yeah, this is the Ghost Veil archetype, which is be sprinkled out throughout the set review, because some of it's in Psychic, some of it's in Grass. But yeah, Sinstature is one of the main pieces. It has the ability Ghost Veil. This Pokemon can't be affected by effects of attacks or abilities from your opponent's Pokemon. So no Munkidori, no Dragapult, which is cool. And then Matcha Spin for a single colorless says if you have 6 or more Pokemon in your discard pile with a Ghost Veil ability, place 4 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. And there is a Spiritomb that we'll look at later on that says if you have, like, I think it's 16 Pokemon with Ghost Veil ability, or like 13, then you get to essentially triple the amount of damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So yeah, it's a very fun little archetype. There's also like a Dalmise that can do 170 for a single energy if you have 4 more of these Ghost Veils in your discard pile. So yeah, it seems like a very, very solid budget deck, and I'm a huge fan of these like Mad Party, United Wings style decks. Like Night March was pretty cool back in the day, if slightly OP. But yeah, this one seems like a unique take on it. Like, we've not really seen a spread deck version of this before, so that's really cool to see. And the artwork is lovely, and it's all about ghost types, which are cool anyway. So yeah, very much looking forward to this deck, basically, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, very excited for that one. And we got this new Heatran, which, okay, what do you do? 120 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon doesn't take damage from attacks by Pokemon that are burned. I mean, that's kind of interesting. I don't think it's quite strong enough. You would have to have a way of maybe consistently burning through something like the Volcarona ability and not just rely on the first attack. And then, like, maybe you could do some shenanigans with energy acceleration. I'm not really sure how you'd power this up. I guess like Emboar is probably your best way. But yeah, still, like, I guess kind of cool to see them try out unique attacks. Like, definitely more of a GLC kind of card, but it's fun to see that we're not still just getting cards with very, very vanilla, boring text. Like, this easily could have been like 120 damage. This Pokemon takes, I don't know, 40 less damage from attacks next turn. They could have really not tried to make this good at all, but they did at least try and do something with it. So that's commendable. So that's nice to see. Okay, and then we have a Sizzlipede with the attack Bug Panic. For 3 colors, reveal the bottom 7 cards of your deck, and this attack does 50 damage times the number of cards that have the attack Bug Panic. Then shuffle those cards back into the deck. Okay, who has Bug Panic? We have to go back through the selection, surely. Okay, I would have thought Grubbin would have Bug Panic, but apparently not. That's interesting. I wonder if it's just Sizzlipede that's going to have it. That would be really funny if it was the same thing. But honestly, I'm surprised that they don't have Bug Panic. But I guess it's only for Pokemon that would be actively like hunting other bugs. Maybe, I don't know. It's interesting though. That is like kind of a funny attack. Like that could do a lot of damage. So yeah, I mean, if you hit all 7, that's what, 350 damage. Pretty cool. So Sizzlipede meme deck, anyone? Yeah, we've got a new Scorch with controlled burn. I think we've seen this attack before on a Scorch, so that's fine. Not really that impressive. We've got a new Charcadet line and a new Armarouge. Got to get one of these every few sets now. Has the attack Flame Legion, which for a single fire energy does 40 damage. And this attack does 40 more damage for each bench Pokemon that has any fire energy attached. So it's interesting that it doesn't specify your bench. So if you go up against another fire deck, you'll be able to do oodles of damage with this guy in theory. But yeah, definitely a fun little attacker. You could utilize this in like a Mega Charizard deck potentially, like use Oricorio to accelerate energy to your bench Megas and stuff, and then you use Armarouge as a single prize attacker. You could pair this up with like Delphox, maybe just pair it with Emboar so you sprinkle all the energy out wherever you need it to go. That could be kind of cool actually, like an Emboar Armarouge deck with maybe a Delphox line in there if you can squeeze it in. Blaziken could be a nice option as well. Honestly, like a really solid attacker. I definitely think it could be a very solid attacker in a GLC as well for these like explosive fire type decks. So yeah, it's nice to see Armarouge get another fun little single prizer. Then we've got a new Wailord line. Very excited to be talking about King Wailord. For those who don't know, I'm a huge fan of Wailord. He's in my top 5 for favorite Pokemon. So it's cool to see Wailord. Also, I do love these woolly artworks. They're very cool. So we'll have to pick up a few of them. Yeah, Wailord EX, 380 HP. So the biggest stage 1 that we've had so far. And we'll probably not see a bigger stage 1. I don't think we're going to get like a Snorlax stage 1 or anything anytime soon. So yeah, cool to see Wailord finally back in the TCG. Walling Down, is it called? Or I want to say Wailing Down, but no, that's Falling Down, actually. I just can't read cards, apparently. For 5 water energy, it does 270 damage, and this Pokemon is now asleep. Now, people have already pointed out that we could just use the Bubble special water energy from Chaos Rising. So essentially, Wailord can just never put itself to sleep, which is very handy for this deck. And then, of course, we've also got the Hero's Cape. So this guy can go up to 480 HP, which is crazy. But I think what you probably want to do, and some people have kind of like already mentioned this, is like you basically just want to use the new Misty supporter to search your deck for 4 water energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon, and then your turn ends. So essentially, you sit behind like, I don't know, a Budew or a Crustle, for example. Then you Misty onto your Wailmer. You pray your opponent can't just boss KO it, basically. And then you evolve into Wailord, and then you have like the heavy batons. So essentially, you can always keep at least 3 energy. Now, that still leaves you having to find the other 2 energy, but I mean, Wailord's probably almost always going to survive a hit anyway, so you should have time to charge up the other energy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that out. That seems like a lot of fun. 5 energy is brutally expensive. Like most decks only play like 8 or 9, so the fact that this takes 5 energy is very expensive just to do 270, which to be fair isn't really a lot of damage, but I guess if we maybe get like Crispin involved, getting some Monkey Dory action. I know no one really likes Monkey Dory right now, but you know, some Monkey Dory action could be necessary to push us over the edge just so we can get a bit more damage in there. But yeah, it's a very tanky guy, and of course we have Jumbo Ice Cream. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to playing Wailord. Seems like a lot of fun. Then we have a new Sea King line. For 3 colorless, Hydrojet does 30 damage for each water energy attaches Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Don't apply weakness and resistance for bench Pokemon, which we kind of saw coming. So right, 30 damage for each water energy. I mean, it's not a very high modifier these days. Like, it was all right in Sword and Shield, and it was decent in Sun and Moon. Well, it's very good in Sun and Moon, but it wasn't very good in Sword and Shield. So, like, in this day and age, against Megas with, like, 340 HP, not very strong, but I could definitely see this being very useful in GLC. Like, maybe there's a home for this in, like, a Snipe deck in Standard, but I definitely think that, you know, because we do have, like, Frostlass and Starmie and stuff like that, but I think overall this is definitely going to be more of a GLC piece, which is cool, you know. It's always nice to see more options for GLC. So that's fun to see. Then we also have a new Relincanth, which was one of the early reveals from the Abyssai set reveal stuff. This guy has Fossil Beatdown for single colors, does 10 damage, and then 30 more damage for each of your bench Pokemon with Antique in its name. And we do have plenty of Antique Pokemon now, so there is potential for this to smack pretty hard. It's a nice little single prize option in the Fossil decks, and it does mean actually, if you really wanted to, you could definitely go for a full-on Fossil Box deck now. You know, I mean, those kind of already exist with like Tatsugiri and Budew and stuff, but Relincanth is a really nice single prize attacker in the early game as well to utilize. So you can get some like chip damage in before Tyrantrum comes in, because you don't really want to have to two-shot things with a Tyrantrum if you can help it, because like you want Tyrantrum to live for as long as possible, try and get the most out of that HP and that attack. So having like Relincanth just be an earlier poker is actually really nice. And it also opens the door up to trying out other fossils that were maybe overlooked before. So yeah, really cool card, to be honest. So happy that Relincanth is here. Then we finally have a new Primarina line. It took forever, but we finally got there. Very excited to finally see one of these, and hopefully it's good. I've not read the card yet, but hopefully it's good enough, like GLC and stuff. But yeah, 150 HP, has the ability Max Melody. You may use this ability once during your turn when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, and if you do, heal all damage from one of your Pokemon. So, okay. Thoughts? Not very good. Not very good at a first glance, but maybe the attack will redeem it. For Watercolors, Aqua Return does 120 damage, and return this Pokemon all cards attached to your hand. Okay. Somewhat underwhelming. However, I will say this much. You could pair this up with Wailord, right? You could heal your Whales. You could heal your Lurantis. I know you'd want to run Hero's Cape and Wailord, but you could run Neo Aprenji and have a single prize attacker that could reset itself as well. So that's at least worth a consideration. Like, if you are playing Neo Aprenji in a deck, maybe Primarina could be worth it in like a Dragapult build of sorts, like a weird kind of healing tanking build. Like, maybe that could be a thing, but overall, I'm not really seeing too many applications for this, because typically the tankiest Pokemon in Standard, with the exception of like maybe Lucario, just will be able to use Jumbo Ice Cream to heal. So like, I'm not sure if healing 120 is kind of not healing 120, healing all damage is like kind of worth it for a stage 2 line in your deck that you have to make room for. Like Wally's Compassion exists, so yeah, I'm not really sure about Primarina, but it could be fun, I guess. It could be fun in some forms. So we've got a Drain Fin on Finzium, a new Palafin, Justice Knuckle does 80 damage, and if your opponent has one prize card remaining, this attack does 200 more damage. So 280 damage for a one last hurrah. Could be a nice little one-of in a Palafin EX deck, I guess. We have a new Manectric, Flash Barrier, 50 damage during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's evolution Pokemon. Okay, that's pretty spicy. And then Sonic Edge just goes through all effects on your opponent's Pokemon. But yeah, Flash Barrier is like a nice option, I think, to have in the Mega Manectric deck, because Mega Manectric walls out basic Pokemon. So this can wall out evolutions. So you have like a nice little trade-off there where you can try and build around something. So that's nice to see, at least. Could be a fun little buff. Then we have a new Charger Bug, kind of insignificant when we already have the Charger Bug that lets you search your deck for up to 3 other Charger Bug and put them onto your bench. As long as we have that in Standard, then these ones will be obsolete, but still worth remembering. Then we have a Vikavolt. And what does this guy do? Not really much. Giga Electromagnetic Blast for 2 lightning does 260, which is kind of impressive. And if this Pokemon doesn't have any bolty lightning energy attached to it, however, this attack does nothing. We'd have to read the bolty lightning energy to see if this is worth it, but like 260 is a lot. It is a lot. Sadly, the Vikavolt we currently have that I actually built IRL to play in the League Challenge, and then for some reason forgot the rotation was a thing, and then like realized I now need to rebuild the deck because obviously Generator is rotated. Like, that Vikavolt can set up quite easily, and basically on a budget can do a lot of damage. So it can do more damage than this guy actually consistently. So we'll have to see if there's a reason to play this guy. But like, if you really wanted to play this, you could just use like Dynamotor and then Bolty Lightning Energy. So like, it's an option, I guess. Like, it could be a fun little cute budget deck, I guess. But yeah, we'll have to see what bolty lightning does before we do that. So we got Mega Aura with Thunder Fist. Does 60 damage times the number of lightning energy attaches Pokemon. And then Zepto turn does 150 and switches Pokemon one of your bench Pokemon. Okay, I do like this second attack. 270 HP is a decent amount for Mega. It's still giving up 3 prize cards though, which is a bit scary. Doesn't have free retreat, unlike a lot of Aura, so that's something worth bearing in mind. Yeah, 60 damage for every lightning energy. I mean, you will need 6 energy before you one-shot anything, but still, like, that's still a lot of damage. You know, that is a lot of damage for a Mega to do. You can kind of get there with Dynamotor, I guess, manual attachments. Just pray your opponent can't one-shot you, and then just like one-shot something else. I guess that's kind of the strat, right? You just set up one Zeraora, then you bonk something for 2-3 prize cards, you bonk something again, then they knock out your Zeraora, but you know, it's too late by then. You can get another one set up as quickly as possible. So maybe that's a strat here. It doesn't seem super scary right now, but we'll have to see what other support they release for this, because like Dynamotor might be enough to make this work, but yeah, we do kind of need a bit more, I think, for Mega Aura to be great, but seems all right. And then we have Miraidon with the ability Photon Code. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and is knocked down by damage one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks, move 2 basic line energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. Okay, that's nice. So we have like a direct setup Pokemon for Zeraora, actually. So like we could do the 90, and then like that sets up a little bit of damage, takes some pressure off needing to have so much energy, and then we can just move 2 lightning to Zeraora. Of course, our opponent could just boss Zeraora and ignore Miraidon, but if we're willing to take that risk, then this could be like a solid little rogue deck. So that's cool to see. Then we see a Slowpoke with unlimited disposal. You may discard as many cards from your hand as you like, which seems like a really negative thing to do, and usually that would be the case. But this Slowbro says if you have no cards in your hand, this attack does 160 more damage, so that's pretty cool. So we're able to do, what is that, 210 damage for a single Psychic? On a 1-prize Pokemon, that's not bad. You'll KO Ogerpon at least. You will be obviously very short of like the much bigger stuff, but if you're able to just consistently 2-shot everything, then maybe that's enough. And then we do have a Thival, actually, I think, coming out in this set that says if you have no cards in hand, this Pokemon can just copy an attack from your opponent's Pokemon. So, you know, that could be a really nice option for the deck as well. Give you an option to swing into Megas. But yeah, Slowbro doesn't seem terrible. Could be a very fun little budget deck. Then we've got a Jinx with Wicked Kiss. At the end of your opponent's next turn, discard the defending Pokemon, all cards attached to it. Very annoying against Mega decks. So if you're able to retreat lock something, then this could be devastating. But yeah, not like the most powerful effect in the world, but we have seen things like this before do well in the past. So definitely worth mentioning. We have a new Shubbit and Banette. I don't think Banette's a very good attacker, but these will be worth running in your deck because they, of course, have the Ghost Veil ability. So, harking back to the Poltergeist that we looked at the start of the video. So, you know, definitely worth picking up 4 copies of each of these if you're going to play Poltergeist. Then we have the Spiritomb, which says if you have 13, okay, so it was 13, it wasn't 18. If you have 13 or more Pokemon in your discard pile with the Ghost Veil ability, choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and quadruple the number of damage counters on each of them. So I thought it was triple, but no, it is quadruple. Wow, okay. So, yeah, you don't have to actually spread a lot of damage before you can just start blowing everything up, which is cool. So if you're actually able to get, like, what was that, 120 damage on 2 Megas, then you just use a Spiritomb, kaboom, they're gone. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, you will have to run, like, 4 in each of these. So, but yeah, the Spiritomb deck honestly seems like a lot of fun. Also, where's Delmise? I think Delmise had an attack. Yeah. So Regretful Rage does 30 damage, and if 4 more Pokemon just got power Ghost Veil ability, it does 140 more. So 170 for a single energy. More than Cramorant, you know, that's pretty cool. So, and I think this is a very easy effect to reach as well, like just 4 Pokemon you just got power. So yeah, 1 Brilliant Blender gets you there. So yeah, I definitely like Delmise. Seems really cool. But we do have a new Chandelure EX line. I'm a huge fan of Chandelure. A lot of my favorite Pokemon are in this set, actually. But sadly, I don't think this card is super strong. It does have the ability Curse Flame, which says your opponent's active retreat cost is 1 colorless more. So could be a fun little combo for the Jinx, you know, like we try and trap our opponent's Pokemon and discard them. But then Phantom Maze for 2 Psychic does 130 damage and then 50 more damage for each colorless in your opponent's active retreat cost. So I think typically what this deck is going to want to do is use this Lampent to put 3 more Lampent on the bench, and then when our opponent knocks out this Lampent, we then just, have 3 more Chandelure in play, basically. We will have to find a way of accelerating some energy, I think, or we'll have to use like Neo Up Energy or something, but I think overall, Mega Chandelure, it does seem like a fun deck, but I kind of doubt its overall power just with it being such a low modifier, but it could be efficient enough to the point where it's just good, and like maybe there's something here for Psychic decks, and 350 HP is kind of a lot, I guess, but yeah, the ability is strong, the attack can be good, could be a solid rogue deck, but yeah, that's fun to see. Then we have a new Marshadow, does 30 damage times number of colors in your opponent's active retreat cost, so a nice little single prize attacker in the Chandelure deck already built in, which is cool. Then we have a new Annihilate line. Has the ability Durable Body. If this Pokemon will be knocked out from an attack, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon is not knocked out instead, and its remaining HP becomes 10. So it will leave you vulnerable to a Munkidori play, of course, but it will protect you even if you have less HP. So in theory, Annihilate could live forever. It's just not going to live against Munkidori, so that's something worth bearing in mind. But yeah, Ghost Blow for 2 Psychic does 100 damage, and you place 5 damage counters on one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So, I mean, the attack isn't very good, right? The attack is not very good, but I do like the ability. The ability is pretty strong. So maybe there's something there for Annihilate. Could be a fun little budget deck. Then we have a new Rampardos. Rampardos is pretty good, to be honest. Like, I'm actually kind of excited for this fossil guy. He's a stage 2 fossil Pokemon EX, 330 HP, has the ability Destructive Headbutt. Says once your turn of his Pokemon is in the active spot, you may flip a coin. If heads, discard energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you can just keep getting heads, and like you have hand trimmers, of course, in standard, but also like the handheld fan. So like whenever your opponent swings into you, you can move an energy from that Pokemon to one of their bench Pokemon. And then Rampaging Hammer for 2 fighting does 150, and during your next turn, attacks used by this Pokemon deal 150 more damage to your opponent's active. So the damage is definitely geared towards 2 KOs, but you could of course use Premium Power Pro if you wanted to speed up the process. But yeah, Destructive Headbutt is a pretty solid ability, to be honest. Like, very disruptive. And we do have that Bastion coming out, the other stage 2 fossil, that says Pokemon with like 2 or less energy, I believe it is, like just can't attack. So like, yeah. So I'll have to remember what the exact translation is for Bastion. We'll have to take a look at it when we get to metal types, but could be a very solid rogue deck with Rampardos and Relicanth. So that's cool to see. Then we have a new Drillbur, just to go along with the Exadrill and metal types. Drillbur has Call for Family, which is nice. And we have Koraidon, which can do 60 damage to an evolution Pokemon. Not that impressive. Gaia Impact does 190 for 2 fighting and colors. Could be a nice option in GLC, I guess. Discard all energy from his Pokemon, however, but Then we have Mega Darkrai, which we can skip. No, Mega Darkrai is cool. It is cool. I don't think it's the best Mega in the set, really, but Night Raid for 2 Dark Energy does 110, and if any of your bench Pokemon have any damage counters on them, this attack does 110 more damage. So quite an easy effect to pull off with stuff like Risky Ruins on Munkidori's, which is probably the best way to do this. Or like your opponent just swings into a Pokemon, then you switch out and retreat. It's just easy to fulfill, basically. So that's cool. You could also, if you just wanted to use the cheesy way, you could just also bench a Phantom. And like Phantom could use its ability, put 2 damage counters on itself, and then you could evolve into a Trev. And there you go. Trevenant Mega Darkrai is going to be a deck, I guess. But yeah, Abyssai, I guess, is the more interesting attack for 3 Dark Energy. If your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by any special condition, it is now knocked out. So pretty devastating for 3 Dark Energy. I'm pretty sure Mist Energy will protect you from this, like all effects of attacks. But still, like, it is pretty cool to see. You could obviously use the new Dark Bell that's coming out, the new item, that basically just puts both active Pokemon to sleep, except any Dark Pokemon. So that could be really fun. So, yeah, I'm assuming Mega Darkrai will be a fun deck. I'm just not sure just yet how good of a deck it's going to be. But, it does seem kind of fun at least. And then we have a new Malamar line, which doesn't do anything. Your opponent is not confused, but you could I suppose you could use the Bramblegast, right, to do some confusion, or like Miss Magius EX, so could be fun there. We have Thievul, which scroll right past Thievul. Sorry, my mouse has died, which is why I'm now scrolling. But yeah, Thievul has the attack Skill Thief, which for 2 colorless, if you have no cards in your hand, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. So could be quite devastating in the right matchup. Like Mega Lucario stands out as a big one, but honestly, there's plenty of other attackers in Standard who have really, really good, efficient attacks that don't have like other weird requirements. So yeah, I definitely like Thievul. This with a Slowbro will be a really fun budget deck, I'm guessing. So that's cool. We have a new Morpeko EX, which is cool. Wheel Draw, shuffle your hand to your deck and then draw 6. And then Hunger Bomber, for 2 dark, does 40 damage and then 40 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Okay, that's interesting. We don't really want Morpeko to be damaged before we swing with it, but I guess it only has 880 HP anyway. So it's not really going to price trade that well into most decks, and then it'll probably just get sniped off the board with a Dragapult play. But you know, it could be a fun little deck, I guess. I'm starting to think of positives here. Like it could be a fun card, right? It could be fun. But yeah, I don't think Morpeko is going to be super strong or anything, but it's a nice little guy. And we have Zarude, which does 100 damage, and if any of your bench Pokemon have any Shadow Darkness energy attached to them, it does 70 more. So only 170 for 3 dark energy. Actually, you know what? I forgot about Toxtricity. That's a nice way of powering this up, actually. Yeah, there we go. I just suddenly remember Toxtricity could be useful for Zarude. So yeah, Toxtricity and Morpeko. There you go. There's a nice little combo. But yeah, Shadow Whip, 170, but something has to have a Shadow Energy. I mean, that's seems like a lot of requirements when like oh, what's his name? It's the snake. I can't remember his name, but there's a snake in Phantasmal Flames that does like Survivor. That's it. There we go. That does like solid damage for 3 dark energy into like megas and stuff. So I think you'd probably just play Survivor over Sarude any day of the week, but still an option, I guess. And then we have Mabostiff, 210 for 3 dark energy, which is kind of a lot actually. And during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 100 extra damage from attacks, but you know, who cares? You're doing 210 damage. I mean, that's cute, I guess. I'd probably rather play the Slowbro with Thievul over Mabostiff Toxtricity, but if you really wanted to squeeze a deck out of this, then I guess this is an option. But yeah. Then we have Chi-Yu with a Spiraling Envy with 1 dark energy. Does 20 damage, and if it has 2 more damage counters on it, this attack does 90 more damage, don't apply weakness. So you can do 110 for a single Toxtricity play, which is kind of fun. I'm not really sure how you're getting the damage on there if you just want to use this going second, but I guess that's probably a pipe dream and just not worth a hassle, but you could try and make that work. But yeah, definitely a Toxtricity piece for sure with a Mega Sharpedo and, well, Mega Darkrai, I guess, really, but you know, it could be all right. Then we have a new Skarmory. Discard 2 Meth Energy from your hand. Does 40 damage for each Meth Energy discard in this way. Yeah, not very good, sadly. I mean, they could have given us like another Bucephalon style attack where it was like a much bigger modifier or something, maybe for 2 or 3 Meth Energy, but that's fair enough. They didn't want to do that, but still, probably not very good. And we have a new Bastardon with Ancient Bullrock. While this Pokemon is on your bench, prevent all damage done to your Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have 2 or fewer energy attached to them. So, okay, so that's definitely a solid partner for Imparters, right? So we just discard all their energy. We say, yeah, you can't really do anything now while we have Bastion in play. Yeah, I know it's 2 fossils. It's going to be a lot to get set up, so it's probably not going to be that consistent or very strong, but I'm willing to give it a go. I think this could be a lot of fun. So it's nice to see that there's just so many fun decks in this set. Like nothing really crazy that's standing out, but just a lot of really fun cards. So that's nice. We've got Bronzong. Takes 100 less damage from evolution Pokemon. Don't really care, to be honest. Could be alright in Chelsea, I guess. Mega Exadrill. I don't really like Mega Exadrill. I don't think it's very strong, but then at that point, like, who was my favorite Mega in the set? I mean, probably Chandelure, actually, but like Mega Exadrill, it's okay. Like, Dig and Break only does 90 damage for 2 Math Energy, which is a bit painful on a Mega. But you do get to discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. So maybe this with Bastardon is like a mill/stall deck. Like, that could be kind of fun. And then Maximum Drill for 3 metal does 200. And if this Pokemon has at least 2 extra energy attached to it, this attack is 130 more. So you can do 330. It's honestly not like a terrible attack, but there is a Metagross that can do 300 for like 4 Meta Energy, I think it is, or like 330, I think it is. So like, yeah, Mega Excadrill, I don't think is like the strongest Mega that we've seen, but it's not like completely unplayable garbage, at least. So that's a positive. Then we have Trumbeak, which 30 damage, flip a coin, and okay, Trumbeak, we don't care about Trumbeak. Oh, we scroll past the other guy. Toucan, there we go. We've not seen Toucan in a while, actually. Sky Draw, once in your turn, you may draw a card, and Feather Rondo for 1 colorless does 60 damage, and then 20 more damage for each bench Pokemon in play. Okay, I mean, I don't think it's particularly strong, but I suppose like you cap at 260, and if you want to get like Terrapagos involved on your side of the bench, then you could definitely force your opponent into essentially having more of a bench. Like, because you have more of a bench, they're probably going to bench more stuff as a result. The fact that you're not hitting anything for weakness is a bit of a shame. But, like, honestly, maybe with Terrapagos, it's kind of a shame that Bouffalon won't, like, offer you any protection. Because I'm pretty sure Bouffalon only protects basic colorless Pokemon, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've seen those cards before. You know, like, it's been a while since Terrapagos did anything in Standard. But, like, Toucan with Terrapagos, this could be fun. Like, this actually could just be fun. Like, Noctowl could find you, like, your rare candies and stuff. It's a pretty efficient attack. It's only 1 energy. It's an easy stage 2 to get going. Yeah, seems like a lot of fun, to be honest. Then we have a new Silvally, which has the ability Buddy Call. Once your turn, you may use the ability if you have no cards in your hand, so definitely a Jorunjin for the Slowbro and Thievul deck. Search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Yeah, okay, definitely a supporter for the Slowbro and Thievul deck. So that's really cool to see, actually, because Thievul uses a double colorless. So we'd probably want to use this sometimes to grab a Colress's Tenacity to get like a triple acceleration energy in a stadium. So that's really nice to see. So yeah, that'll be a very fun deck to try out. Nice to see that. Then we have Bombardier, delivery challenge, flip 2 coins above the head, search your deck for Pokemon, put it into your bench. That is very funny for a single double colorless. I mean, we don't have double colorless energy reprint in Standard. I mean, yet, but we might see something crop up eventually. But it's not the worst attack in the world. But like, you do have to get 2 heads. So depends if we see like a trainer card that lets you reflip coins. I think, because if there's a way to guarantee this, that could be a very powerful effect to just do going second. But yeah, we'll have to see how that pans out. We've got a Dark Bell, which okay, it doesn't put them to sleep, it just confuses them. Okay, fair enough. So that's what we'll be using for Mega Darkrai to get the effect off. We have a new Antique Skull Fossil for Cranidos. It just says whenever it takes damage from an attack, your opponent's Pokemon, put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. A really nice effect, because in case your opponent has a Budew in play and they just want to like prolong the game, then you can just say no, essentially. But you're probably using Relic Count in the early game anyhow, but it's still nice to have a fossil that essentially gives you a bit of value at the end of the day. So that's nice to see. Then we have Bastion, takes 10 less damage from attacks. I mean, who cares? That's not very good. But okay, we've now got some cool items. Heroic Bomb. If this Pokemon this card is attached to is not a Mega Evolution and takes 240 or more damage from opponent's active Mega's attacks, place 12 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon, then discard this card. So it's a Mega Lucario counter for non-Mega decks. Like, okay, kind of interesting. So if Megas ever get really good, then we just whack this on a Dragapult, I guess. Call it a day. I mean, it could be useful on single prize cards, right? Yes. Yeah, we can put this on single prize Pokemon. For a second, I got confused and I was like, it had to be on Pokemon EX. But no, we can put this on single prizers. Okay, that's nice. So yeah, this could honestly give single prize decks like a really solid surprise option against against Megas, because you're essentially saying, right, Lucario, if you want to smack into me, you're going to take 120 damage. So that's pretty nice, right? I mean, I can't think of any of the Megas off the top of my head that are doing 240 base damage, really. I mean, I suppose a lot of them are going to get there anyway with like modifiers and stuff, but it does kind of feel like this is a anti-Mega Lucario card for some reason. I don't know why they printed this, but still a very interesting card and probably see use at some point. We've got Retry Badge. Once your turn, after you flip any coins for an attack of the colorless Pokemon this card is attached to, you may ignore the results of those coin flips and begin flipping those coins again. Okay, so alright, so they do want us to use Bombardier. That's interesting. Is there any other colorless Pokemon we could actually use for this? Was there anything revealed here? I don't think there was there? No. That's interesting. So they actually printed a tool card in the set to give Bombardier a fighting chance, I guess. That's funny. Like that's a nice little combo. I'm trying to think, is there really any other colors Pokemon this could be used for? I know that there is a Fearow, funnily enough, that has one of these like flip 6 coins and you do like 30 damage for each heads. So like that could be a fun little budget deck, but like maybe there's another colors Pokemon though. That just alright, Kangaskhan. Right? Kangaskhan, just Mega Kangaskhan. We could use this on Mega Kangaskhan. We could use this on the Kangaskhan EX, like the Team Rockets one. Not the Team Rockets one, sorry. The one that's just like flip 4 coins. So like, yeah, okay, Retry Badge is cool. I like Retry Badge. That's a nice little card. Then we have Misty's Energy. Search your deck for 4 Water Energy and attach them to one of your event Pokemon. Can be basic Water Energy. Okay, has to be basic. That's fine. I mean, I don't hate this, basically. It's just a way of getting more energy on Wailord. Maybe Samurott for a budget deck, but like Wailord's going to be the main one for sure. You could also use this to power up a Crustle, actually. I never thought about that. But you could use it to power up a Crustle. Just get the 3 energy, or 2 energy, I should say. And then, would you want to use that on Crustle? It's probably better to use Crispin, actually. But yeah, okay, maybe not. Anyway, moving on. We've got Gladian's Decisive Battle. You may only play this card if it's the only card in your hand. Okay, so they are really pushing like the Slowbro Evil stuff, but that's really cool to see. And it does have synergy with Savalai. During this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon that do not have a Roblox deal 80 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Okay, that's interesting. So Slowbro is now doing 290 damage for a single Psychic Energy just for you having no cards in hand. Granted, you will need to use Gladian's Decisive Battle when you need it, and you do have to set up 3 different stage 1s. Or, well, you don't need to set up the Evol, you just need to set up the Silvally to find it when you need it. But yeah, that seems really strong, actually. That seems like a very strong single price deck. So we talked about earlier in the video like how Slowbro was only doing 210. Like it was kind of shy of the big numbers, but 290, that's respectable. You could also use this in just another deck where you don't have a rule box and you don't have any cards in your hand. So like maybe use this in a Mega Lucario deck and use it to just one-shot another Mega. Like that is a very nice option. So yeah, that's going to be another thing, right? Is any Mega that doesn't have a rule box can utilize this potentially and do a ton of damage. Yeah, that's really cool, actually. I really like this supporter. A very, very cool card. Very, very cool card. Could be my favorite card in this set, actually, because like that's got a lot of utility options. So it's cool to see decks get this, basically. It's very cool to see. You know, like the Hop Zacian deck that's always running out of cards. Like, yeah, we can actually do some like proper chip damage with Hop Zacian. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this, actually. Very cool supporter. Then we've got Rust Syndicate Grunt. Seems like a disruption supporter. You may only play this card if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Discard energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Okay, so they are giving us synergy with Rampardos. That's cool to see. So like Ranenkanth goes down, guys. You promote Rampardos. You attach another energy. You use Rust Syndicate Grunt. You know, could be a nice little option to essentially just remove 2 energy from your opponent's Pokemon. So quite disgusting. Then we've got Gwyn. Discard up to 2 Pokemon cards from your hand, excluding any Roblox Pokemon. Draw 3 cards for each Pokemon discarded this way. So a bit of Ghost Veil support. You might not even need to run this if we have plenty of other ways to discard cards in Standard, but I do think it's a pretty good card anyway for that deck. So nice to see the draw 6 effect return. Then we've got Fossil Excavation Site. Once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for up to 2 trainer cards with Antique in their name, put them onto their bench, and then shuffle their deck. You may play only 1 stadium card during your turn. Put it next to the active spot and discard another stadium when it comes into play. Okay, so we do have a way of finally getting fossils out consistently. It was about damn time. We really needed this. So the fact that we have a way of getting Rampardos out easier, Tyrantrum, of course. But yeah, Rampardos Bastion stands out to me as the number 1 deck for this, but honestly, Tyrantrum getting another buff, really cool to see. Tyrantrum's a very, very solid single price attacker, so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this card. Honestly, a lot of cards in the set seem really cool. So we have Bolty Light Energy. So attacks from this Pokemon, this lightning Pokemon, do 20 more damage. Okay. So that could be useful for the baby Manectric that we looked at earlier that only did like 50 damage for 2 lightning, but walled out evolution Pokemon. So now you can do 70 and carry with basic. You could use this for that Vikavolt, that we mentioned earlier, and do 280, the magic number. So yeah, seems like a pretty good card. Obviously, very good with Zeraora as well, the Mega Zeraora. So nice to see the Bolty Light Energy will be pretty playable. And then Shadowy Dark Energy says, as long as this card is attached to a dark Pokemon, it's prevent all damage done to your opponent's. All right, prevent all damage done by your opponent's attacks done to the bench dark Pokemon this card's attached to. Okay, so it's essentially just saying, you can't do any spread damage to my bench Darkrai. Okay, that's fair enough. But yeah, overall, a very interesting set. I'm really looking forward to the single prizers in this set. Like the whole Gladion Slowbro deck seems really cool. The Ghost Veil deck as well. But yeah, some really fun archetypes, just some really fun combos as well, like this Toucan with Terrapagos. But I'm already conscious this video is super, super long for a site review. So yeah, I'm gonna let you guys get away. And yeah, it's been Power, and thank you for watching.